Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 12th of March. Welcome live from Italy. Well, I think we're day 2 into the full quarantine where everything is closed. And coming to a city near you, anywhere in the world. A lot of people just really couldn't see this setup developing as it was started early on. And we could see real money was starting to exit this way back here. Now, I've shrunk this chart because we were on our Skype chat just the other day, and I was, talking about this overall general short bias, and I said, I'll see you at 2,300. Didn't really get any responses from anyone because they just sounded ridiculous when you're all the way up at, 28 plus, and then we started dropping another 100, so on and so forth. And, it was a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a friend who, and I said, hey, this has the potential of a 29 apocalypse. Every child hears the little song, the wheels on the bus go round and round. Well, the wheels are completely off the bus. The bus is stopped and grounded. And you're talking about not just a 2008 situation here where we had a reduced economic situation. I'm in a place right now where there is literally zero economic activity of 60 million people. You think about that. And you see military starting to roll out in New York. You have to be at least a little bit cognizant of the potentials with that. Now, we had this dip below the red line way back over here in 2019. And that's where that goes. And some of these other markers come from there. So I just thought I would show you that one. To be aggressively upset. Okay, we had a couple of other levels that had been on this chart for some time here. We just hadn't been getting low enough to it. Once we were breaking that 2760 range, we have this additional one. It gets hard to see when they overlap like that, but it was right around the 35, and that's where we kind of opened up before this latest breakdown. And then we had 2635 here, so 2505 becomes the next range down lower. Nothing in this had changed from a DOC standpoint for being short. We even go back to the S&P 1 here. So we had broken back above here at this particular point. It tried to make the move, and then boom, the collapse started. So once we started with our DOC spread from here, we've had no steel reset. So any pops, are going to be short-lived, and they become opportunities to attack. The fact that we came up to the 50% on that move in declining steel short-term buyers there is pretty straightforward in my view. And we had confirmation from it all throughout given days. We're getting a little correction node because our futures contract is going to end, so going to be rolling out to the June contract here coming up. That's going to create all sorts of wonderful volatility. We'll see how that plays out going forward. The euro, again, it's one thing to bash the United States and that, but there's now zero economic output through a large portion. France, with the number of cases, that's going to be the next economy that's going to have to come to a close. Germany, Merkel already suggested that up to 70% of the country could become infected, and I imagine that was a bit more of a scare tactic just to get these kind of draconian separations, see if you can get people to voluntarily do it. But there's something you can do when your hospitals are reaching capacity, which they're pretty close to here in the northern part of Italy. We've already exceeded it, and that's just going to continue to escalate. There's going to be no demand for oil. Like I said, the only case for oil would be the government stepping in to buy up the supply for its strategic reserve. I don't know that they're even capable of doing that. It seemed like, fine. Trump was correct in the travel bans early, no question about that. But the response in America, I still think, is inadequate and probably already too slow. So, but it's a tough one because you're, in democracy, you don't want to stop an economy, but at the same time, if you believe this was just the common flu, no big deal. But it's not. The number of deaths, 200 people die overnight here. Again, I get back to this. It's like everyone talks about death rates. You don't even know what it will be until much later Not to mention the number of recoveries is far less than the number of deaths here in Italy already. So it's giving you an idea of the aggressive nature of things. From a gold standpoint, it's going to be tough for gold because even though we have this expectation as it is safe haven, a lot of people have to liquidate in order to cover positions that they held in equities because they weren't properly hedged. There it is from a 5K standpoint. I don't know, where did I enter this trade? I shorted it just, I think it was before the close. 27.46. So that was right over here. Started to get short in a big way as we came up across. We could see the convergence of these going through. We had the dip below the red line, so at a minimum I was looking for, the 27.29 was my original target. We literally just went straight there, and nothing to do at that point but just not even watch. My chart's a little skewed. Give it a little thing. There we go. So, yeah. I don't even know what else to add to that. We can go back through the day. It was a pretty exciting day. We had a lot of good signals throughout much of it. Most of it, though, represented these long stretches of no DLC steel reset. But as soon as we got the resets, you started to get a much more bullish activity. Now, fine, it was latent at best for the distribution that's taking place. The reality is that as much as you want to throw fiscal stimulus and things like that at something like this, it's not really going to help. People are going to alter their behavior out of fear so that loved ones don't die. And that's just a fundamental precept of self-preservation. I mean, it's not about economic activity, going out and spending or doing something like that, because you can't. I mean, literally, there's every single store is closed here. I mean, you have supermarkets, but you can't go. But two people, so this is going to create some panic. And when you talk about panic, you're talking about civil unrest, and that's a whole nother category that we're not even broaching yet, because we're only 2 days into a crisis that some people didn't even see coming months ago. And it's a tough one. A lot of beautiful DLC spreads throughout this, and we talked about some of these configurations. When I'm within a strong short bias and I've got an algo level, I'm not afraid to attack short when I've got a magenta situation like this. We had just the inverse effect taking place before this, when the general view was bullish, and I was saying, hey, unless you have some kind of predominant news cycle that says things are going to get negative, shorting just a short does not make sense. Now, clearly we have a justification for shorts within rally setups, and this is a perfect example of that. Now, I was discussing with members this very simply eloquent, and we can go ahead and do something to the ABM here just to make it a little bit easier. We'll increase the weight of the gold line. There you go. Now you can see a little bit stronger. So my suggestion was simply this. Look, you're below the ABM yellow. This is what the original PNT does as opposed to this paint bar 2. You're below the ABM. Everything goes to red. And when it resets, you can then buy that back below. You're out. And you can just keep going back through. But it becomes one of these interesting ones. It's like, wanting to long without a reset of the ABM, it's not so exciting. Yes, fine, we have our P23 pivots, perfect, yes, accurate, okay. Later reset from the ABM, sure. But once it's violated, hey, you're looking at the dark side, or at least short side. I don't even call it dark, it just becomes more distribution. And boom, same situation. So now the difference is that because of the restrictions that they put on the ABM, there weren't resetting on all of our pivot setups and that, but that's being converted now so that will be in place. So what you would get would be the move here. It would then dip down for the P2s, which would cover that short and allow new long setup to trail going back up forward. So that's the current state of things. Are we going to be limit down? Oh, it's possible. It's possible. There's still plenty of room to go. I think that at some point here soon, the Fed will be forced to interject. We're still in pretty frothy levels in general, given what we're going to be looking at from an economic growth standpoint. So, multiple-wise, it's not that far off. Again, I'm looking at least another 300 ES points before you've reached a point of like where we were in '09, where you had the 666 range was right around that March when I called the bottom there and suggested everyone start buying everything. It seemed crazy at the time, but you reach these certain points. I don't know that the 23 level is yet. I'm going to have to 2300 on the ES. I'm going to look at it some more, but I know that that's generally where you're going to find some interest for sure. Okie dokie. Well, that's the long and the short of it for right now. As always, though, we will be on the Skype chat, and it's going to be another interesting day. I don't really care for these down limit days simply because it doesn't give you the flexibility to make a lot of different moves in between. So it was sort of one of those where you hold it, and that's about all you can do, and you go from there. As always, though, trade well. We'll be on the Skype chat.